Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the United Stand. Welcome to your build-up show. The Champions League anthem is back at Old Trafford, but for how long? That is how important this game is tonight. We're going to bring you all your pre-predictions. We've got an opposition fan from Galatasaray side of things coming on as well. I know you love that part of this show every time. It's good to get the opposition's look, especially on how United are doing as well. That's what I want to know. How are we looking from overseas? Obviously, Beth is here with me. We're going to go through everything, Beth, from the predicted lineups to what's expected. We're hearing there's only one change to the lineup tonight, Beth, and it's not what people...
We're hearing. It's not confirmed.
Not what people would think. But yeah, if that does come off, then kudos to our man in the know. But ultimately, Beth, this is a huge night for Ten Hag. Everything going on right now, the pressure of still being in the Champions League. I'm going to pose a big question to you straight off the bat before we even get going. If we lose tonight or don't get the win, are we out the Champions League?
I was about to say, you were asking how we're looking from overseas. I can answer that very quickly. Not very good. Not very good at all. It's before 9 o'clock, so I won't swear, but not good at all. It's a must-win game. If we don't win this game, I can see us going out. Exactly what you said. I saw your road trip video. Very good, by the way. And I thought... I agree with you. If we don't win this game, we'll crumble. I don't expect us to have the backbone to get through the group. So it's a must-win game at home. I mean, going to Galatasaray away, I know that Copenhagen drew with Galatasaray and they did go 2-0 up, but Galatasaray away is a tough place to go. Their fans, Sahar said it in the pre-match, they're the loudest games you'll hear. It's unbelievable. So we have to get the job done at home. And I'd be a lot more confident going into this game if we still had our home record. But we've been getting slapped up away, but we've also started to leak goals at home and get beat at home now. So I'm worried. I cannot lie.
That is it. That's the fear. I can see it in the chat already with all the Manchester United fans. A few of you are saying who you would drop. Obviously, we've got the Rashford debate still lingering on. Bruno Fernandes. You know what Ten Hag is like. You know what he likes to do. He has his tried and trusted players. Are we trusting them players too much in the United shirt right now? That's a question I want you guys to get in the comments with an answer, please, for me. Because, I mean, all week I'm hearing of the so-called unrest, the worry that Ten Hag has got around his character of his players, the mental state of his players. And then he's talking about character again. You heard my road trip like Beth just said then. It's like, I love you, Ten. But seriously, I'm sick to death of this. It's about the character now. We know the character of these players. We've been watching them the past 11 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left, and we know that they haven't got it in them, Beth, to actually handle the pressure. So how can I asked this question, and I want you to answer it. Sorry, I want to put you right on the spot again. You're in the mastermind seat, so you're getting it, Beth. Here we go. I forgot what I was going to say now.
Oh, really? You had a big question coming.
No, I got it there, but I said, like, you can make a player physically better. You can adapt his technique, his skills, make him play. But can a player forget about how bad he was, or when he struggled mentally in a game, or when he switched off? Can you change a player's mind? A leopard never changes his spots, basically. And the frailties in the minds of these players and the mentality. Can Ten Hag change that? Is it doable? Because we're seeing the same thing all the time, Beth. It doesn't matter how much better a performance comes. The following week, you're still scared that you might get that mental breakdown again.
For certain characters, I think you can change it round. For certain characters, I don't think you can.
For example, the ones that need to go? For
example, the likes of Sancho, we've heard he's going back to Dortmund in January. Yes, please, thank you very much. I'll get the Uber and drive you to the airport. His mentality isn't a United player. It's not, and it never will be. It never will be. You can tell by everything that's gone on. It just never will be. But there is players, for example, Rashford is such a confidence player. We've seen this before. He goes through a really good vein of form, then he drops off a cliff. This has happened over the course of his career at Manchester United. I think he can be turned around. I think he does have the ability to turn it on. And I do think Ten Hag can change that. We saw it last season. What we don't want to see is these dips again, which is what we're seeing now. I think certain individuals, you can turn it around, and with the right coach, you can become that mentality monster. It starts by winning things. It starts by following, the instructions of the manager and following that lifestyle that a top athlete has to follow, and the mentality is such a strong part of that. And if you're willing to follow it, if you have the discipline, I think you can do it. Certain players don't have the discipline, and therefore I don't think they can. So I think I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit with this one. It really just depends on the players that you have, and the players there that can't do it need to go. And I think that is what Ten Hag is starting to realise, and that's why, again, not just to single out Sancho, because obviously it's not just him, but I'm glad he's going if he goes, because I don't think he's up to it mentally. Talent-wise, absolutely. Mentally not, and it's such... the mental side of the sport is so important. It's like, for example, when Rashford was going through that period of scoring goals, like, you saw it with the celebration. It's so much of it is up here, because we know the talent's there. It's about confidence and believing in yourself, and I feel like a lot of this team doesn't have the character, can't get through the rough patch, does crumble, and that's something that needs to change. One thing that did worry me that I did want to bring up is what Erik ten Hag said in his press conference. And he said, you know, is it worrying you that this team doesn't look like it's moving forward? And he said, well, I think we are moving forward. I think we are improving. And I thought, I don't think we're improving. I don't think we're moving forward. I can't see how we've got better. I think, if anything, we've got worse. So that is what worried me a little bit with what he said there, because I don't think we know he's not always honest, but that was definitely dishonest.
Yeah, I mean, that there is just backing the players. I said it. I've copyrighted this phrase, Unitified. That's what I call what happens to everyone at Manchester United. 1 year in, it looks fantastic, whether it be a player, whether it be a manager. Second year, something happens in that summer, and it just goes the same way with every single one of them. And all of a sudden, they turn into players or managers that are just part of United and the acceptance of how bad everything is right now. Ten Hag came in talking about standards. Where's that gone? Where are the standards? We are looking down the barrel of our 60 feet of the season already, only just into October if we lose tonight. And out of the Champions League, in my opinion, where are the standards? We're not at the top table anymore.
I think he has to make more changes. I think he has to be more ruthless with substitutions, and I think that's one thing I thought with Erik ten Hag that we would be getting more of, and we know he's stubborn, and I love this manager so much. I back him. I think he's the one. I 100% think he's the one. I still do, and I think he needs time, definitely. But that doesn't mean I can't say things that I would like to see, and I would like to see him become more ruthless with his substitutions. If something isn't working, change it. Don't wait for the game to change before it's too late. If a player isn't performing, drop them. I don't care who they are, because at the end of the day, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting it to change. It's like, for me personally, I said on the morning show the other day, Rashford's for me, I think one of our best players, talent-wise. I think he's a very good player, but he's been rubbish the first start of the season, and I think he needs to be dropped, because I think one way to play Rashford back into form is to bring him off the bench and let him go against tired legs. And we know how powerful he can be off the bench. Maybe that will build his form, build his confidence. But continuing to start him while he's getting dog's abuse off a lot of the fans and just not putting in a good performance. Not just him, by the way. Don't want to single him out, but he is a debate. I think changes need to be made, because we've seen players come in and do well. Garnacho's come in and done well. Hannibal's come in and done well. I don't think there's an excuse to say that there isn't players there that can do it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I hear about the protecting young players and easing them in. I get all of that, but let's be honest, if they're good enough, they're old enough, and if they're going to come in and perform, then that's it. But this is the part of the show where we get the look from the other side. Galatasaray, our opponents tonight. We have a history with Galatasaray in this competition. Remember Welcome to Hell back in the 90s? Cantona, it was all kicking off. I don't think the atmosphere has changed one bit. It's probably come a bit more organised and a little safer, I'm guessing, going off the scenes from them videos. Check them out on YouTube, by the way. If you're not old enough, that was an occasion, that first time United rolled up in Istanbul. But we have got Reese on, who is a Galatasaray fan, with us. He's going to talk up Galatasaray's chances tonight. Hopefully they're getting 3 points from his side. Reese, are you there, mate? Are you with us?
Yeah. Hi, mate. How you doing?
How you doing, buddy? Are you okay? Are you confident tonight? What's the mood?
I mean, there's a lot of excitement over this end in Turkey, just because of recent form. You know, from here, the perspective is that United aren't really where they should be. There's problems in the squad. I think there's problems in the squad. The form has been, debatable. As much as this is a huge game, it's a Champions League night, and as a Turkish club, you're coming to England, you're coming to a hard place. Like, Old Trafford is a hard place to play in these type of nights, these big games. So from that end, obviously there's a little bit of excitement. Like, whatever happens, this is a good chance to show yourself as a team, as a fan base, to show that you really deserve to play here. I think that's one of the biggest things for Turkish clubs playing in Europe, is that they really want to show themselves. Because obviously they're looked down on a little bit in the last couple of years, especially because of the types of squads that have been made and the type of results that we've been having. But this year, it's probably one of the best squads I've seen in my lifetime. Like the amount of money put in, the sort of pedigree of name. Like if you look at the likes of Zaha, Mertens, Icardi, Ziyech, Tete, these are players that Turkey don't normally attract. And this year there's been a huge effort to bring these types of names in to really compete at this high level. And like I said, there's a lot of excitement for this game because United's recent form hasn't been of best. It hasn't been the standard that we know. As much as this is going to be difficult, obviously the squad, the difference in quality is still there. And I think the main thing is a club playing in the Premier League, the tempo that they play at in general is a lot higher, quicker, better than the likes of clubs from Turkey. So that's what we see so far. But the injury list, looking at it, it's what really has fueled a lot of fans in Turkey about this game. Like that back line is not up to shape. No left back in the squad. Amrabat's been pulled in there, and I've watched the last 3 games that United have played, and 2 of them, I believe, Amrabat played there. It just doesn't look as strong as it should be. And with Lissandra out as well, I think he's a huge part of the build-up play, and he's a huge part of actually United getting out of breaking the mid-blocks that they've been seeing.
Yeah.
Palace did a really good job at just holding the middle. They didn't need to press the centre-backs because they knew the problem lied in the middle. If United aren't able to get through the middle in build-up, they normally don't create as many chances, I believe. And what we saw was Amrabat would tuck in, Mount would drift wide, and that was the only way that they could get out from the left. So Palace were at ease off the ball. And that's one thing I think we'll see today.
Just there, Beth, and what Reece is saying there, it's like Galatasaray fans can see it. Surely the manager can see it. I mean,
what he said was absolutely dead on of the assessment of the game, because Mount did keep drifting to the left to try and help Rashford out a little bit, and it just wasn't working. Like you said, our left hand side did become slightly nullified, and down the right hand side, Pellistri and Dalot did have a bit more of a connection, but he didn't have his best game, and we found it hard to penetrate their defence fully. All Palace had to do have an easy day, sit in and do the jobs, and we weren't kind of any threat. But Reece, I kind of wanted to ask you, looking at Manchester United and looking obviously Galatasaray, the last time out in the Champions League, your first game, it was a 2-2 against Copenhagen. I mean, I would have thought Galatasaray at home would have won that game, but do you have more confidence going in today's game that you can maybe get more than a point and maybe even win it at Old Trafford?
Yeah, so first things to say is a point here for Galatasaray would be huge. Not only because if you look at the group, we'd still be holding our second place, given that Bayern beat Copenhagen. But the first game, it showed really good signs of play. I think Galatasaray played really well in the first 30 minutes. They created like 4 or 5 net chances that they just didn't take. We were expecting to take those chances and really wrap up the game, and that just didn't happen. So that's why that game sort of went pear-shaped. We saw a couple mistakes at the back that led to Copenhagen leading, but they only actually had 2 chances that game, and they took both, and that's kind of how it is in the Champions League. You see, when teams take their chances, they get those away points, and that's what happened. And as soon as Zaha and Tete were subbed on in that game, we just saw a much quicker Galatasaray team on the wings that were attacking a little bit more direct. And, Zaha's so good at taking on players. He was the one that actually created the chance. But yeah, that result wasn't ideal by any means. I think we were expecting a win there. We were hoping to go into the United game with 3 points in the bag, but that just makes this game just a lot more tense because, a loss here, it's a problem because then you're battling out with Copenhagen for 3rd place. I think it'd be tough either way. But, both teams, I think, are going to come out and look for the win today.
Sorry, I was just going to ask you then, Reece, mate, in terms of the threat. Obviously, you talked about Amrabat down that side. He was a walking yellow card in the Premier League game at weekend, as you said you've watched. And Champions League, we know what UEFA referees are like with their yellow cards. Do you think there will be a deliberate sort of ploy down Manchester United's left-hand side as a best form of attack for Galatasaray in this one?
100%. I think we're more comfortable going that way anyway. And, it's going to be Tete on the right side. I think behind him would be Bowie. And they're both so quick on transition that usually teams are going to try and exploit that against United, especially on that left side. Because the problem I saw was the gap between Rashford and Amrabat was so big off the ball. And, he's not used to playing there. So when he's coming out, he's being aggressive. He's just trying to shut it down. And like you said, that causes fouls and that causes cards. So that's going to be a problem, especially with a tricky player like Tete and Bowie, who just loves to constantly run down that wing for 90 minutes. He won't stop. I can guarantee that for today. So yeah, definitely something we will see that left side be exploited, I think, or at least tried. We will play that way.
Well, that's the difference between your players and ours. You say your player won't stop running, whereas we've seen in the past, the likes of Rashford, just to kind of call him out a little bit, and we don't know if it's a tactical thing, but he doesn't track back. He doesn't run all up and down the wing throughout the game, and that's something that it's a real possibility that United could get outworked today, which is not what you want to see, especially on the back of the results that we've had. It's something that we need to see. We need to see hard work. We need to see players fighting for each other today, because Galatasaray are going to give that. I mean, Reece, I just wanted to ask you, obviously you talked a little bit about the impact of Zaha there. Am I right in thinking Ziyech is injured for today's game?
Ziyech is not in the squad today, unfortunately. He's unfit, and that would have been a big game changer, I think, because...
Especially against Amrabat on that side.
Yeah, but Tete does a good job there. We're quite lucky to have two really, quite high quality.
Strong squad, like you said.
Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? But I wanted to ask you about United's threats. I always ask the opposition fan this. What worries you about United? Where do you think they can get a Galatasaray? And then also, if you could take one player from United to being Galatasaray's team, who would you pick?
Yeah, so the definite threat, I think, is just when I see United, I think the way they play best is when they play on the counter, when they play a little bit more direct and they're happy to sit behind the ball and counter quickly. Rashford does this well. Bruno's really catered to this. They do it really well. And when they do, they create chances, they score goals. And Galatasaray this year, they play quite aggressive. That defensive line gets quite high. Regardless of the opponent, they like to press, they like to get in your face. But what that does is a timing error, a positional error, or just any sort of mistake in that press, because it has to be organised, will leave spaces at the back. And players like Bruno, players like Rashford, on their day, they will never, ever let that mistake slide. They will punish you. So in the early minutes, if Galatasaray do come out and press like I've seen them do in the last couple games, players like Rashford, players like Bruno, and even like Højlund, he looks really quick just on the counter generally. He's really, really quick off the ball. They could cause problems. But that's the kind of thing I see with United. Because
I'm just gonna quickly interrupt you there, mate, just because the team news is out for United, and we was right. Kudos to our man Sam. There was one change to the United lineup.
Everyone thought it was going to be Bayındır for Onana, but I knew it wasn't going to be.
No. That rumour about the goalkeeper coming in, Bayındır for Onana, like Beth said, complete false news. It is exactly the same team, except Hannibal starts for United, and he's replacing Palestra, which does mean probably we're going to see Bruno Fernandes on the right, Mason Mount on the right, another player out of position.
I hope it's Mount. I hope it's Mount. I know you're not happy with that lineup, Adam. I'm going to be honest. Apart from, I would have started Garnacho instead of Rashford and potentially Martial instead of Højlund, to be honest with you. I am happy with that lineup. I have been saying all week how much I think we need Hannibal to start. His legs and his energy in that midfield are underrated. He's very good positionally at closing down the space in midfield, helping Casemiro out to become the best version of himself. The two games that he started, we've actually won, which is a rarity these days. I think he needed to come into that team, so I think Erik ten Hag there has got it right in that sense.
But again, the right wing.
It's not as if Palestra had a good game though. I really like Palestra, and I do think players need chances, but I don't think he really took his chance last game. And Mount, we've seen him for Chelsea play well there.
For me, it depends who plays there, because if Bruno's out there, it's another round peg.
Yeah, I hope it's not Bruno. I hope it's Mount.
Again, it's Rashford gets a free ride into the team, and that's what a lot of fans are going to pick up on. I mean, Reece, looking at that Manchester United team there, you talked about the frailties at the back. They're all there, clear to see, so no change in how you see Galatasaray approaching this game. But Hannibal in there, a little bit more energy. Again, though, mate, I mean, you look at it there, Hannibal does like a tackle, and another player that probably is going to have to watch yourself in the Champions League. I mean, we've seen how card happy these refs are and how they can be. So, again, it looks like he's gone with the energy, probably to counteract what you were describing, Reece, in terms of how much Galatasaray bring and that quick transition as well. A player like that who is going to go up and down could help that midfield.
Yeah, well, what I'm interested there is who is going to play on the right side. Because if it is Bruno, I'm not sure how Galatasaray will approach this, but I would see the biggest difference in quality being the midfield. And I see when Bruno plays, when he is able to be the link up between the middle third and the final third, it's normally when United make all their chances. Like the way I see United play, as soon as Bruno's on the ball, he's looking up. Everyone's playing according to that. Palestri was making runs, sometimes receiving them through. Rashford always does it. So I always see Bruno as an important player there, where when he's not on his day, United seem to struggle going forward, especially in possession. However, if he's on the right, I don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to hold in a little bit? He's fake though. Someone like Angelino, really good going forward, but actually has his faults at the back. He's not the quickest fullback. So I would have expected someone quicker there. Palestri could have targeted him. I was expecting a bit more of a quicker winger there. So if it is Mount or Fernandes, I would be happy with that, because I think it doesn't play into the things that Angelino doesn't do as well. But obviously that's a managerial change there. So
yeah, like
you said, chemistry wasn't the greatest, I think, on the weekend. It wasn't that he was bad, he just couldn't get involved, I think, in the game as much. But yeah.
It's interesting. I just wanted to have you read the bench? I've got the bench here. I can read it out.
Go for it.
So the bench is Binder, Vitek, Maguire, Evans, Ericsson, McTominay, Palestri, Anthony, Garnacho and Martial. So Anthony, Garnacho and Martial all to come off the bench, and Palestri as well. I think he's quite strong. Obviously, 2 keepers on the bench is a little bit
I'm glad them names came in at the back of that list, because that bench was looking very, very slow at
it was
one
looking
point
slow
there,
at first, and it sped up towards the end.
You sort of like just saved us.
Anthony back in the squad
back
is exciting
in. I think he will play a part in this.
I wanted to ask Reece. Reece, did you say before, because I like to get the answer, if you could have one United player at Galatasaray, who would you pick?
Oh, yeah, it would definitely be Bruno. I think looking at our squad, a midfielder was needed, but Bruno's just sensational when he's on his day. The quality he has.
I completely agree. It's a very divisive subject in the United fan base, but I absolutely love him as well. But Reece, thank you so much for joining us. Just to wrap things up, can you give us a score prediction, please?
I'm going to go with 1-1.
1-1. Every time we get opposition fans on here, they always fancy a draw. Palace fan fancied a draw. They end up winning. Who knows what will happen? Wouldn't be surprised if Galatasaray came here and took the win in the form that we're in. But Reece, apart from tonight, good luck. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Reece, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Care.
I was going to read a couple of super chats just while that was on there with Reece. Should we cut Erik ten Hag some slack, considering what he has had to put up with? And what has gone wrong, considering 90% is same team as last year. That's one chat there from Daz Salford 69. Another super chat in, just going to bring it up now because a few went through there just as we was on to Reece. Darren Mulaney, how are you doing, Darren? I've heard the players have down tools again, and we'll be looking yet again for a manager at Christmas. What do you think, Beth? A few people, I spoke to a few people outside Old Trafford. They're not happy. They're not happy with the way Ten Hag is letting the big name players off, and some are even saying we could be looking at a new manager in Christmas.
Don't see it, and I don't agree with it.
Only if he wanted to go, I would say.
There's things that with Ten Hag are concerning me. I can't lie. There are things that are concerning me. I think too slow to react in games with substitutions, not getting the substitutions right, in-game management, and reluctancy to change things, stubbornness. They all concern me. But I can have concerns without wanting my manager out. And I have said, and I keep saying it, Ten Hag is the right man to come in.
Constructive criticism, it's fair.
He's dealing with a terrible ownership. He's dealt with so many different things behind the scenes, ridiculous injury list. And I actually think he definitely is the person to take us forward. I think he will get there in the end. We are not a team that's ready to go and compete. We thought we were, we're not. We're in the processes of a rebuild. Rebuilds have ups, rebuilds have downs. This has been a little bit of a down, but I've said, well, a big down, to be honest, start of the season. It's a massive letdown for a lot of United fans. But we're a building squad. It's like, look, you don't buy Højlund to come in and win the league straight away. You're building for a rebuild. That's the direction that we're going down. Some fans won't like it, and because Man United fans, as we should expect to be winning every game. We should expect to be competing. But I trust Ten Hag, and I said no matter what happens this season for me, I still think he has the season he gets and he gets the start of next season as well, because I do really like him. And this cycle of just sacking managers when basically, as you would say, it hits the fan, get another manager in, you have a bit of a bounce, and then the same cycle repeats itself. That's not the route I want to go down. I want to go down the route of backing the manager, getting behind him, and I hope to God we see a time where we have a different ownership in with Erik ten Hag as manager, because I think you'll see a real difference then as well.
Yeah, question in from Matt Tweed. I don't see this I don't hate this lineup, but Amrabat in defence isn't it. Unless Hannibal is providing cover when he drifts into midfield.
I really do want to come in on that. I have to say, Amrabat left back worries me against their players.
That's
it
what
really
we just said.
does.
Reece just said then, Beth. It's like we've seen how robust he was, and I love the fact that he wants to get stuck in, but he was giving needless free kicks away constantly in that game against Palace. I mean, Ayew schooled him. It's going to be more the same today. Hopefully he can sort of learn. I've seen Erik ten Hag on the sidelines just giving the gesture like, just calm down a little bit. He's putting his hands down, he's putting them up and saying, just steady on a little bit. You don't have to be just running into these tackles. It is great getting the crowd up. I think Sandro Martinez is guilty of it sometimes as well. It's like he loves the tackle.
But we played into it against Palace. They were trying to time waste.
Have to be clever with it, yeah.
They were trying to time waste. They were trying to get free kicks. We said set pieces for Palace at Old Trafford. It's like gold dust. They absolutely eat it up because they've got players in there. It's their biggest chance of getting a goal. And what happened was they got that. They managed to do it. And as much as I love Amrabat, he's playing out of position. He's a midfielder. He's not a full-back. And to be asked to play left-back against, as Reece was even saying, Tete is a very good player. He's going to give Amrabat a bit of a run for his money. They're going to be looking for fouls because, again, set pieces is where we are vulnerable. And if they get anything in the game, they're going to look to time waste. Absolutely they will. We have it all of the time at Old Trafford. And our players are naive and they fall into the trap. So that's what worries me about Amrabat, is because the amount of free kicks against Palace, and to be honest, the referee wasn't great. He was giving a lot of free kicks that shouldn't have even been. But Amrabat isn't a fullback, he's a midfielder. That's what worries me.
Yeah, that's it. Don't forget to give the video a like, guys. Let us know what you think. Super chat just in. Why not playing someone like Gore as right back or left back?
Jesus, Can Anthony play left back?
Someone just put a comment in. Mainu will be at left back soon enough when he comes back in as well. I mean, we are struggling with injuries. Let's not forget that. But you're talking about set pieces, Beth. Was there no shout for El Slabhead to come in and replace Lindelof tonight?
A lot of people won't like to hear it, but there was a shout.
Because Lindelof has been atrocious. I put him at fault for the goal.
Yeah.
As well against Palace. Fell asleep, let his man drift away. He has been very, very poor. And would Harry Maguire be any worse? I know. Calm down, people. Don't get too excited. But we were talking about players not performing well and someone else coming in replacing them. Does it not work in defence too?
I think what is clear is that Ten Hag really doesn't rate Maguire. Or else he'd be in, because Lindelof's been crap. Like he's been so poor.
Johnny Evans might have been a shout tonight.
Honestly, Lindelof's been so poor, and I mentioned it, and people were saying I was being too harsh. I mentioned it on the forum last time. He's been so poor. His passing has been terrible, and a lot of people are saying, Beth, no, he's not been terrible. Like, no one ever moves in midfield. He doesn't stride into midfield and build the ball out from the back the way that we should. He's just constant pass to Varane. Arms out. Why is no one there to be passed to?
Fair enough. Get out of jail.
Fair enough. There's not many movement, but there is passes on. And I remember a time when Lindelof was putting in brilliant balls in over the top to Rashford. He just doesn't seem to do it anymore. So his progression is poor from the back. Got turned quite a few times against Palace. Like you said, it fought for the goal. I actually thought in, what game was it? Was it in the Arsenal game? He was asleep on the back post with Dalot for one of their goals as well. It might have been in the Arsenal game. It was another game. He's not impressed me. And I'm a big fan of Lindelof, by the way. Last season, I was saying how good he played. I thought he's a great rotational centre-back. Would be fine with him in the team, but he has been pretty poor. So I think there was a shout for Maguire, but I'm still not at the point where I would have put Maguire in over him. I think Lindelof, for me, if I was picking a team tonight, I still would have gone with him, and I think he has to have a good game. He's on last chance saloon for me at the minute, or else I would be looking to rotate.
Yeah, Johnny Evans. Darren Lee says, I think we should recall Fernandes from loan. He would be a good as left back. I don't know if we have got an option to recall Fernandes. But yeah, I'd just say, look, well, we did that. We knew what was coming. Just leave him be. Anana is the new Weghorst. Should have got Pickford. No, I'm not going with that one either. But cheers for the super chat, Colin. Much appreciated as always, everyone.
I want to ask you a question.
Quickly, Chris, welcome to the members club as well. Go on, Beth. What's your question?
I wanted to ask you a question, and my question was, you know, a lot of people in the chat are not agreeing that Lindelof's been poor. He has been, guys.
Oh,
he has been.
I don't know what you've been watching, guys. Honestly, I'm going to have to call you out on that one. He has been crap. I'm not going to beat around the bush. He has been pretty poor.
We like Lindelof, but you have to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, but call it as it is. There's no getting around it. He has been a poor performer. He's part of a few of them who have.
But, Adam, I wanted to ask you, was there any shouts for Martial to play instead of Højlund tonight.
Some of our super chats just coming from Sultan as well. Garnacho not starting is very unfair. Some people thought he started off well, but Martial, honestly, he's not a starter for me. I think he actually has his best performances when he comes off the bench. Look at him against Arsenal. Was it against Arsenal when he came on with sharp? Or was it another game? I can't remember now, actually. But no, Brighton, he was sharp when he came on as well. Bayern, he was sharp. It wasn't Brighton, sorry. It was Bayern. He looked sharp when he came on in that game. And honestly, I would never start him ahead of Højlund because I think Højlund, you've got that guarantee of lasting 90 minutes, hopefully. I understand Martial's hold-up play and what he can bring and the qualities he does bring. But just to answer, I just don't see him as a starter. He has got a role to play off the bench, Martial. He has. But he's never a starter for me.
Also, you've got to protect him from injury because we know how close he's to injury, and I actually do think he's an important member of the squad. I've said it loads. I think when fit and on form, he's our best attacker, which shows the quality, to be honest. We've not got enough quality. I do think I would have started him tonight. I would have. I'm going to be honest. I think I really like Højlund a lot, and I'd like to see them play together in the same team. I honestly would. And I hope Højlund has a good night. Obviously scored against Bayern Munich, did well to take his goal, been feeding off very little chances. I wouldn't have minded to see Martial and Højlund together, but I just don't know if Martial has the legs to play on the left anymore. Probably not. But that's a combination I would have liked to see. I think Højlund would really feed off playing with Martial, but maybe we can see that in later stages in the game as a sub, like you said. But also a lot of discourse about Rashford. Is he lucky to be starting tonight?
Well, King Mo's just come in with a comment there. One of our members says, Erik ten Hag finally proves Sancho is a scapegoat. Rashford is as lazy as Sancho with work rate, bar his goals. I mean, Rashford has performed last season. Sancho hasn't performed any season consistently. To be honest, I think this is the difference. And let's not forget, there's a lot of this with Sancho that's happened behind the scenes at Carrington and the leaks and the news coming out. I mean, Rashford, he was punished, wasn't he, for coming up late against Wolves. Didn't start the game, came on off the bench, proved to Ten Hag that he wanted to be part of that team. Sancho not turning up to training is a different ball game altogether. You've got to work hard off the pitch as well as on it. I know what I'm saying. I'm with you on Rashford. I don't think he should have started either, honestly. And Ten Hag has to nip that in the butt very, very quickly.
If he has another bad game, he has to be dropped. I hope he has a good game. It's a stage to do it on, a must-win Champions League night.
The thing is, it's like, you can't argue with Perishu here with the Super Chat. You can't argue with the way fans look at this. It's two wingers on the bench, still Bruno on the right wing.
A lot of people are asking if it's a diamond. I very much doubt it would be. I have got a voice note from Ricky that he wants me to play out, if I can play that.
Yeah, we're going to get Ricky's thoughts on this.
He's in Turkey at the moment, actually.
He's actually Spain wasn't warm enough. He's flown further infield.
I think he's watching the show, so if you are Ricky.
Yes, Rick. Hope
good evening from Turkey.
I think it's Efes is the local beer in Turkey, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, we'll be all over it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's play it out.
As far as I'm concerned, the manager's ball.
Oh, wait 1 second. Wait 1 sec.
On super speed.
I had it on super speed. That's how I listen to voice notes, everyone. Right, here we go.
As far as I'm concerned, the manager's balled it. He's brought Hannibal in, which is great news. Hannibal deserves to play without any shadow of a doubt. But he's still got Rashford in, he's still got Bruno in, he's still got Mount in. No disrespect to Mount, by the way. He needs to get a bit bedded in and sort of getting to know all the players. But playing alongside Bruno is no good. And obviously Rashford's in the same team. I don't see there's going to be much improvement on the performance to what we saw on Saturday against Palace.
Interesting words from Ricky there.
Fair enough from what Ricky's saying there. Me and Ricky have our disagreements, as everybody knows, about certain players. But my concern out of all of this tonight, and it was one of my plays to watch from Manchester United, Amrabat teamed up with Rashford, and the worries that everyone is bringing up in the chat in terms of Rashford's work rate, tracking back against a player who is a bit tackle happy, doesn't play at left back at all. He can play there, we've seen that, but he isn't a left back. And you've got Rashford who doesn't like to trap back.
It's a weak side there.
That is where, if I was Galatasaray, I would
targeting it all over.
Going down that side. That would be the worry for me. And obviously, that's is that Varane's side as well at centre back?
No, it's Lindelof's.
It's Lindelof's.
It's our weak side there.
There you go. You can see where I'm worried tonight and where my fears are. But what Ricky said there is, in terms of bottling the lineup, Garnacho for another sort of fringe player. Sorry, Hannibal for another fringe player. It's a bit of a get out for me. That, I mean, you could have made a statement by not playing Rashford, putting Garnacho on, who probably deserves a chance, in my opinion.
I think
if
he
you're
does.
going to play Palestri against Bayern Munich away, why is he not playing at home against Galatasaray?
He's got because Mount's back. Mount wasn't back before, but he's got to at least give Garnacho, Palestri, Martial a bit of time to have an impact if we're not winning this game.
I think
he's got to bring them on earlier than 80th minute.
Well, one good thing in Ten Hag's favour is here. A super chat from Mario there says, so easy to criticise the gaffer when all goes south. Yeah, it is. I'm not so much criticising him. I want this to go well for him tonight. But it's on the players. How many times is he going to be the scapegoat for these players? I want him to stand up to these underperforming players. He trusts them immensely to put them back in that team there tonight. And you know what? There is only going to be one fall guy. And the only reason I'm angry with him, I'm not happy with him, is because I want him to stay. Because I've seen what he did last season and I know what he can do. I just feel like he's lost that bite. He's lost that ruthlessness. And I said this in my road trip. He has lost that edge, Ten Hag, this season. And he's sort of just going down the Ollie road, dare I say, at the moment. And I know that he's completely different to how Ten Hag approached everything last season, the way he dealt with players and everything. But take that Sancho attitude and bring it into the in-game, is what I'm saying. And actually have the balls. What did I say? I said, find your balls and put them back in your sack. That's what I said. And I know it sounds a bit crude and horrible, but honestly, Eric, listen to me, son. Baldy's best, but
I do think he needs to be. I do think
be a bit sterner, Eric.
He needs to be more ruthless. I don't even think it's ruthlessness. I think it's stubbornness of making these players work. Because obviously we know how much he rates the likes of Bruno's and Rashford's. But Ricky actually sent me a really interesting clips over the weekend. It got taken down off Instagram because of copyright, but he sent it to me directly, and it was actually it was interesting. Like, there were clips from the Palace game, and it was the likes of Rashford and Bruno. To be fair, I really do rate Bruno, but you can clip up certain mistakes from any player. But we are so impatient in the final third. We just try and hit and hope every time instead of working the ball and actually creating a chance. The situations where Dallow's there waiting for the ball to get the cross in, and you have players just pinging it randomly into the box when no one's even there and just wasting possession. We need to work possession better in the final third, and we need to play as more of a team. But I did want to quickly talk about Hannibal for a little minute. I've not actually had your full opinion on Hannibal yet. But I'm so happy he's in the team. And I want to say, I mentioned this on a show, Hannibal has so much energy, he has so much work rate, and there's a lot to be said for that. And there was somebody else who had that helped us in games like this, and his name was Fred. And I'm not saying the same player because they're very different, but we've missed that energy and that work rate in the midfield. And what I think Hannibal gives, against Burnley, he covered the most ground out of any player since Ten Hag's come into play. I mean, that's even more than what Bruno has on occasion. So that shows a lot. He gives Casemiro that help, and Casemiro's such a threat when he has that stability in midfield.
I'm being careful with Hannibal. I don't want to hype him too much. I see them qualities. I haven't seen an end product from him yet. I need to see time. I've seen the goal that he scored against Brighton. I thought, yes, that's what I like. Starting a game, I just want to see a bit more composure from him. I wanted to see him listen and learn from the likes of Casemiro. I think we have got a talent, personally. I do. And I think he took his chance in the summer in convincing Ten Hag that he was the one that jumped out from the crowd and made it impossible for Ten Hag to send him on loan. So that's
apparently behind the scenes he works ridiculously hard as well.
Part one, he's in Ten Hag's good books and his work rate is phenomenal. That is going to get a big tick in my book. I just need him to hone it in a little bit, and this will come in time. I hope Ten Hag nurses him through these games. I'm glad he's starting tonight. I think he deserves his shot tonight. I just hope that Ten Hag takes him aside, shows him the videos, and he learns from it, because he's surrounded by quality players there, experienced players. I mean, if you've got two midfielders in Casemiro, Amrabat, three in fact, Casemiro, Bruno and Amrabat, and Hannibal's looking at them players, he's only learning from the best there. They've all been to the highest heights, internationally and club level. He just needs to feed off that. I think we've got a talent in Hannibal, I really do. I think he can be, he's not going to be, I mean, who would you sort of liken him to? What type of player?
Someone's actually just said in the chat, which I found really interesting, Sander Floor says, we need another Ander Herrera type midfielder. And I'm not saying like that is what Hannibal is, because Ander Herrera was such a good midfielder for us, and you know he'll have to do a lot to kind of carry on that sort of legacy. But Hannibal, for me, he's a player that keeps it simple, passes at the right opportunity, gets into the right positions, is very intelligent on where to be to receive the ball, moves it quickly, and gets himself around the pitch.
Where are you playing him?
Has the energy, and he also has the work rate for, making them tackles. He does actually remind me a little bit like Ander Herrera. Got the long range, so I think he's an 8. I think he's an 8.
I would use his energy as a 10. Have a bit more space, honestly. I would play Bruno behind him and play Hannibal in front of him. Let Bruno pull them strings behind him, but then you've got energy right down the spine. But I would say to Hannibal, you just use that energy in that final third, in closing down, starting presses. Højlund will follow. We know whoever's going to play on the right. If Mount is there, then he will do it. You've got 3 that will press there. The spanner in the works is Rashford in terms of the press now Ten Hag wants to play. So Ten Hag cannot expect this team to press from the front because Rashford won't do it. So that's my worry in how he's setting the team up and Rashford being in the team. If we went out tonight and we didn't press, I'd be like, right, okay, I understand that with Rashford. I think Hannibal, he's a perfect press player, but learn the role. He will get better in time, Hannibal, I know, and he'll start adapting to it. I hope we just don't hype him up too much too quickly.
He needs game, and it's sad that we have to rely on these sort of players at this point. But he needs. The thing is with Hannibal, he should be coming into a team that's already set and just nurturing him in the same way that players at City get to do and at the top teams get to do. But we are desperate right now, so fans are pinning hopes on a youngster. But what's interesting, and I wanted to bring this up to you, is Eriksen's completely dropped out of this starting 11 recently, not been getting any starts really. Hannibal's starting over him, rightly so in my opinion, but thoughts on that?
That's how it should be with every player. That should be the Rashford situation in one. He hasn't been playing well, Eriksen. He's been bypassed. His last good game was against Arsenal. He had a fantastic international break and then fallen off a cliff again.
Yeah. And
has been poor. So there for me is one of the best midfielders in world football, or has been, dropped for an academy player. That should be what's happening with Marcus Rashford as well. Not one. You cannot tell me that Rashford is playing he's playing better than what Eriksen is. They've all been culpable. They've all been poor.
True.
And it stands for every player. Even Casemiro, he hasn't been great. Yeah, he's our leading goal scorer, but
Casemiro has to play.
He hasn't been fantastic. I mean, you say he has to play. Have we got a replacement?
Well, we have Amrabat,
yes,
obviously, but no, but Casemiro has to play. I mean, I was very, very critical, but the past couple of games, he's looked like our biggest threat going forward, and that says a lot. I'm
not letting anyone off the hook, Beth, is what I'm saying. I mean, I love Casemiro.
He's a leader as well.
He was great against Crystal Palace in the Cup. Thought that was his best game in a long time, and he does need games to play in.
He was decent against Bayern, I thought.
Got the goals. I've seen errors against Bayern where he was bypassed very easily, but they have got exceptionally quick and quality midfielders. So I understand it. I do know that Manchester United are actually trying to replace Casemiro. They are trying to find that replacement. They know he's not going to last forever, but for me, they're all in it together.
Are we going to go through our players to watch?
I've just been through Amrabat.
After a few super chats.
Yeah, I've been through Amrabat. I'm going to read Salah's out now. Salah Ahmed with a super chat. Only change being Hannibal for Palestra is a cop-out, as he is saying that there is no accountability for poor performances. Rashford, Bruno were worse. I didn't think Palestra was that bad against Crystal Palace. I thought he was isolated.
He wasn't great though, was he?
I thought he was isolated. No one was great.
And I like Palestra a lot, but he wasn't.
No one was great.
He didn't do enough, I don't think. And he didn't, but neither did Rashford, like, at all.
Well, that's what we're trying to say, isn't it? It's like everyone's accountable. Everyone's accountable. I mean, I talked about the worry of Amrabat. He was one of my picks. I don't think we need to go into him much more, to be honest, Beth. So one of your players to watch out for?
Oh, yeah. So interesting enough, this is before I even knew the lineup, so I went with a risk on this one. One of my players to watch was actually Hannibal. And I've just spoke about it there, so I won't go over it too much. But Hannibal, like I've literally just said, I've just repeated, I think he helps Casemiro. I think he helps the team. 2 wins in 2 starts, and that's a rarity for us this season. Energy, power, keeps it simple, passes the ball well, gets stuck in. I think his energy is contagious and it encourages others to do that as well on the pitch. So he had to play, and I'm glad I put him in for a player to watch. And then my other player to watch was Mason Mount, actually, because I think against Palace he had an exceptional 45 minutes. Last game, I actually thought he got a lot of harsh criticism. I thought he was one of our better players in a really poor performance. I can see it with Mason Mount, and I do think he's going to have a good impact. But I think first Champions League game at Old Trafford, you know, there's been question marks over whether him and Bruno can work together. I think he needs to again have a good performance tonight. So I'll be interested to watch him, especially if he's playing on the right hand side.
Bruno on the wing and Mount in the middle, showing Erik ten Hag has learned nothing. Super chat, first super chat ever for Haydar says, why haven't we got a style of play Spurs have? Yeah, that says a lot, doesn't it? I mean, I've talked about that umpteen times, how managers have only been in the door 5 minutes. You can see the plan already. That is the big criticism of Ten Hag. I think, honestly, Beth, I kind of see how he wants to play, but then again, the players that he's picking, as Marcus Rashford was my other pick, and now he needs a night tonight.
He needs it desperately.
I can actually see Rashford actually getting the winning goal tonight, and
we say that every time.
Everything just calming down a little bit, but I'm sort of being overweighted by the fact that I can see United having a poor performance again and it being miserable outside Old Trafford. I see threats against every single side of our defence.
I can't lose again. I can't lose again.
Honestly, the home form is a massive, massive worry now, because if we lose that, then basically it's last season but worse. It really is. But honestly, when you talk about players that need to stand up and be counted and players to put on a performance
to
the whole world, Marcus Rashford is top of that tree for me today. He's been talked about so much all week. I heard TalkSport saying, I think it was Alex Crook saying, he feels like he's got this God-given right to actually be in the Manchester United side. Ten Hag should be dropping him. A lot of fans have said the same thing. But Marcus Rashford tonight, Marcus has to have a big game tonight. He really does. Otherwise, you're for him later, he's just going to get bombarded with Rashford hate. You know what's going to happen. It's going to be the same old thing again. The excuse players, the Brunos, the Rashfords, if we lose a game, it's a whole team. The system's not working because of the big players not performing. When you have the likes of Marcus Rashford playing the way we know he can, then everyone feeds off that. I don't sometimes feel like Rashford understands his role in this team. He is seen as the pin-up boy for Manchester United.
It's
but he's
IQ,
seen
football IQ.
by the rest of the team as that player. That big Manchester United player. He was born and bred Manchester United.
Well, do you remember last year when you had Casemiro doing interviews after the game saying, I didn't realise till I came here, but Rashford's one of the top 5 players in the world? That's Casemiro. That's Casemiro saying that about him. And he's just absolutely fallen off a cliff. Fallen off a cliff.
Makes you think, doesn't it, about his best mate suffering.
I know, I'm sorry, but Sancho cannot be used as an excuse when it comes to Rashford. It just can't. I've seen so many excuses. I've seen his best mate's been isolated from the squad. I've seen that as an excuse. I've seen the fact he's not had Luke Shaw as his fullback being an excuse. To be fair, I feel like that one's more realistic. He has missed having a fullback to play with. But then Reguilon was doing a really good job and he still weren't playing well. So we need to cut the excuses of our players. You're either good enough or you're not. Show that you are. Because at Man United, you cannot be a player that has 10 bad games and then 10 good games. You can't do that. You have to be on it every game. And of course, players go through form. But to be a top player at a top team, you have to be consistent. And that's what these players lack.
The only player in this current squad with the numbers that would actually put him in the top bracket is Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah. That's
it. And that's why I've got plenty of time for Bruno Fernandes. I know what he does. I know the energy he puts in. He works harder than any other player on the pitch. It's just, we haven't got enough. I mean, you look at Manchester United's team and you're trying to get them in that City and Liverpool team right now and the best teams in Europe, and we're just not there. It's like the Super Chat says there. JS says, Erik ten Hag doesn't have the players to play his style of football. It's as simple as that. We need to add to this squad to make us better. Yeah, I understand that, but he has brought in a lot of players as well. Anana out, had enough. He's not Manchester United keeper, says Drew as well. Cheers for the super chats, everyone. Keep them coming in. We just hit 1,000 likes, 12,000 in the room with us here. Cheers for tuning in, everybody, as always. Honestly, looking at this game tonight, I see this as, and I say this every single week probably, but it just feels tonight like Ten Hag cannot afford to have a bad night for me, Beth. I just don't think he's got a press conference in him to answer questions of another poor performance. What have you got there?
I've just seen it's on TNT Sports. It's just an interview. I don't want to play it out loud because I don't know if it's copyrighted, but it says Ten Hag in his interview said, "It's delaying the process and I'm very impatient." I assume that, I think he means there he's talking about injuries, that it's delaying the process and I'm very impatient, or maybe it means the results that we're getting. But interesting that he's talking about being impatient there, but keeps starting the same players that are playing badly.
That's it, but also we've seen the impatientness creep in then, because is that not what's just happened with Martinez, bringing him back too quick?
Yeah.
And now we're going back and losing him for 3 more months because of the recurring injury that wasn't fully healed.
I'll try and get the actual quote there for you, but interesting that he's talking about having impatience. Being impatient.
Every manager is impatient, I feel. That's just part of being a top manager in football. So for me, them comments don't really hit home for me. I mean, I think he's saying that. I think he's his rallying cry.
Here's a question for you, Adam. It's 0-0 tonight. After half time, still 0-0. How long do you wait to change things up if you're Ten Hag? Because we've seen him in the past just hold on to what's happening. It's just not worked out.
My go-to is always 55, 60 minutes.
I always think anything past the 60th mark's too late, especially when you're looking to change the game. 70th is fine, but you get into the 80th minute where he's usually about when he makes his substitutions. It's too late.
You've got natural game changers on the bench.
Garnacho has to make an appearance.
You've got a full front three and some on the bench there tonight that you can change. You've got a little bit of play in midfield. I mean, honestly, I still would have played. I mean, it's hard. I know it's hard because I'm about to come into the midfield personally. I feel like he got taken for a ride by Ayew at weekend. I think he was like schooled a little bit in that position, and I think they knew that. But
here's one for you as well.
Honestly, go on.
And everyone get in the chat on this one. Big night for Dalot against Zaha. Dalot, he's been getting criticism, but I think he's played really well recently, I have to say. I haven't
got a problem with Dalot. I think he's had the odd lapse in concentration here and there, but he hasn't been anywhere near the poor level that a lot of players in this team have been. I think Dalot has been a consistent
someone
performer.
That stood up and actually, you know, and stood up, and I think he's been much better going forward than what he has been recently. I think he's been good. I think he's had a few mistakes, like you said, but I think he's been very good and come into the team and done a job. Against Zaha, it's going to be a tough night. Zaha's going to want to prove himself tonight. Not that he has to really prove himself, but he's going to want to do it. You've seen him giving it big in the press conference before the game.
Little Britain.
Yeah, he's got that swagger about him where he wants to come here and cause Old Trafford a bad night. Let's be real, he does. So he's going to be on his game. Dalot has to kind of maintain that. Another player that I think is worrying is Icardi at number 9. He can be a handful.
Bit of a bully.
Yeah.
Bit of a bully. He's going to latch himself onto Lindelof straight away. And that's something we're going to have to watch. Ten Hag says and does dumb stuff, let's face it, says enjoy writing. That's a bit brutal. I won't say that much. I think, Dalot was to end up and played well. Another one in the comments there saying, why Dalot not playing at left back? Dalot is our best player. So a lot of people agreeing with what we just said there on Dalot. He's not one I'm worried about at the moment. Let's put it that way. There's plenty of other players that I'd be worried about. But in terms of their biggest threats, we've already been through them. I think Icardi, Zaha, that's a decent combination, to be honest. It's like Reece said before, the Galatasaray fan, Beth. They're awash with decent players. It's like a breath of fresh air for them. And they'll be coming into this game like full of beans and looking at United and the state of United and going, well, yeah, we've got a chance tonight. This is probably our best time to play Manchester United. Do you think that might bring them out a bit more? Be a bit more attacking?
Yeah, I think they'll go at us. I think they'll definitely go at us. I think that if any team is not going to have any fear coming here at the moment, and that's a really sad thing to think about, because Man United in the Champions League, teams used to fear coming to Old Trafford. I don't think Galatasaray will fear coming here tonight.
No. Kenneth Tierney with super chat. Cheers for that one, mate. United now remind me of a team under Ron Atkinson during the 26-year wait, losing at home to the likes of Sunderland. Then one difference being could still excite. I understand what kind of saying there. It's a case of we've got the players, we know we've got the players, and then that one given game we can actually turn it on and get everyone excited thinking that we've got a future, but really there's no consistency within that team. They haven't got that, like Ten Hag says, the character, that mentality to wear that Manchester United shirt and understand that every game is a cup final and you have to perform to the top level every single game.
Well, Ten Hag's actually just been speaking as well to CBS Sports Galazo. Love their coverage, by the way, and saying that he says he knows as a team that they have to do better, and also some individuals have to step up their level. All well and good saying this every time, but it has to actually happen. Words have to go into actions today. Actions are louder than words. You know, these players have to show it today. And Old Trafford, you know, at the end of that Palace game, there was loud boos all round. Old Trafford need to see a performance tonight, or else it could turn in a little bit toxic. Because, like you said, if we lose this game, Champions League is nearly out of sight.
We've been looking forward to this Champions League anthem for
to go out straight away would be so
devastating. Go out and lose this first game at Old Trafford. This puts Manchester United back in pole position for qualifying for the last 16, because I do fancy us to get the win against Copenhagen at home as well. And then I just feel like we can probably get a result out of them away from home and be in a decent position, needing a point out the last 2 games to qualify. But it starts tonight. United need to make Old Trafford a fortress. The problem they've got is that the football's been that bad, Beth. Old Trafford used to be a hotbed. Champions League nights, it used to be the best atmosphere in town. But the fans are just sick to death.
I think it'll be a good atmosphere tonight. I think it will be.
That's it. It will be at the start, but that one, it's like 20 minutes in. The usual story of Manchester United this season has been 20 minutes in, playing decent football, not took advantage of that, and then you can feel the anxiety creep into the crowd.
Well, Reece said, take your chances. You've got to take your chances, and we've been so disastrous at doing that. Early goal would really, really help us out tonight, because when do we ever score early goals at Old Trafford anymore? It feels like so long ago. We've got to try and score an early goal. We really do. We've got to get the crowd up for it. And yeah, I'm excited, but I'm also quite nervous because it could also go pear-shaped very fast. Another worrying thing to me has been the body language on the pitch. I've not seen the togetherness that we saw last season. I need to see some of that as well.
Yeah, that's it. The high-fiving, the tackling, the togetherness that we had. Dare I say it, when De Gea was in goal. Remember Dalot, Varane, Casemiro.
Well, that's something that Dalot still brings.
He tries, doesn't he? But it's everyone else who's not on board with it. It's like, it feels like every man for himself. That's how it feels right now. It feels they're in survival mode, a lot of these players, whereas they're looking after number one. They're not taking that risk. They don't want to be that player that is going to try and be a bit more expansive and do that little bit extra. You need to be brave wearing that United shirt. Otherwise, you're going to get found out quickly. And hopefully Ten Hag is the manager for that. He showed that he was last season. Don't forget, guys, the watch along is to follow with Mark after this. I'll just get a quick check now on when we are finishing up from our producer, just so you guys can fly straight across. Yep.
We'll be in a few minutes.
We'll let you know when to fly across there. It could be one of them nights. It really could. God knows what's going to come in that watch along and what is coming from this game.
Could go either way, couldn't it? Could go either way tonight. Angelino scares me. He always scares me.
Scares you because he's just so robust as well.
He's so robust. He's got great fitness and he goes forward really well.
And he tackles.
He's done us in the past. He played for Leipzig, didn't he? And did us over there, I'm pretty sure. He's a player that I don't like to play against.
He's a walking red card as well tonight. He likes to get stuck in, doesn't he, as well?
I know, but he worries me. Yeah, like you said, he's like a left wing at left back. Maybe that's why Mount or Bruno's going to be there to help get back. But I think you need someone maybe like more of physically like a winger then to help with that. But it is what it is. Get
your score predictions in, everybody. Now we're at that stage of the show. Now we want to know how you're feeling. We've talked the talk. We're going to walk the walk.
We've not done our score predictions yet, have we?
Yeah, we'll be walking over to Old Trafford shortly. Honestly,
Shahin says you guys aren't excited. Maybe need a Faz speech. I did the speech last time, and it was a good speech. But Faz is actually in the presser tonight, so he'll be doing his little speech from there. Maybe you'll see it later on the after match stuff.
Yeah, maybe you'll see. Maybe we'll ask a question this time. But also in terms of 4-0, 4-0 to Galatasaray. I mean, That is a bit of a, what's the name in it? That's a bit of a disaster class for United. There's a lot of 2-1 Galatasaray, 3-1 Galatasaray, 4-0 Galatasaray. Well, not really much coming from this United fan base in the chat anyway, Beth, right now. 4-1 United, there we go. Stitch is in the house. Stitch with a 4-1 for United. 3-1 United, 4-0 United, that's more like it. 5-1, settled down. We're never scoring 5 goals. Not scored more than 4 with 10 hearts.
What's yours, Adam? Because obviously we're going to...
1-0.
1-0 United?
Yeah.
You think we'll keep a clean sheet?
I just feel like it's going to be one of them boring games.
I've gone with 2-1 United. Really safe scoreline, but I mean, I said 2-1 against Palace and that didn't work out, but I'm going with 2-1. We have to win. We have to win. I do think Galatasaray will score, though. I don't think our defence is strong enough.
Casemiro hat-trick, says Lee.
Would love that. Who's the goal scorers? I'm going to say Rashford and Højlund.
Rashford,
or maybe Casemiro header.
Rashford 1-0, and everyone just settles down a little bit.
If I was Ten Hag tonight, I'd be saying, look, go out there and show the world that you're not a bunch of players with no backbone. And that was me changing the language a little bit.
Yeah. Go out there and show people that you can actually wear that United shirt, and you deserve to wear that United shirt. But guys, that is it. Big thank you to everyone who's been in with us in the chat, getting your comments in. Super chats have been on point as always. Beth, cheers for coming on. Hopefully you've got a good forum later as well, and we're talking about a United win.
Yep, I really, really hope so. Join us for the forum straight after Mark's final score later. I really hope it's a winning forum. We've not had one in a little bit, and I'd like to see a good performance as well. I can't remember the last time we had a good performance. Oh yeah, it was Palace in the Cup. But come on, United, let's hope we get the win. Let's hope we get the win. Games come so thick and fast, you forget, don't you?
Guys, cheers for watching. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out. 12,000 of us in the room tonight watching. Brilliant stuff as always, guys. Like, share and subscribe. Fly across now to Mark. He is live on the watch along with all the excitement, hopefully, that is coming. Excitement for United fans, let's say that. But everyone, cheers for watching. We are out of here. We'll see you after the game.